of the mobile homes that have survived this.
And that's what I was going to say. There's one right there, and it's just amazing that that one is still standing in the midst of all of that devastation, when you just see pieces of people's homes thrown over this area. It really is heartbreaking, and, you know, that can be replaced. You know, we're trying to get information on how people are doing there. You know, can you imagine riding out a storm in one of those mobile homes, and this is the aftermath of you know, what happened?
Yeah, and you can see this looks like this may all be a mobile home park, this entire little square, and this looks like just one half of that is just gone, except for the very lower end right here that Sky 5 is showing you, and there's nothing left.
It'll
right
be
there.
Interesting to find out exactly how many mobile homes were in this mobile home park. Again, near Highway 102 in Independence. No word on the name of what this mobile home park was called there, but it is just gone. There
are going to be some very sad stories and some very incredible stories of survival that are coming out of this situation. When you look there, not only are the mobile homes gone, the trees are sheared off, and the good sign that you see there are some people running around right here trying to figure out what they can and ascertain how much damage, and they aren't hurt, and that's good. That's the good part of this.
Right. You can imagine that they are just looking around trying to see what's theirs, but also I'm wondering if anyone was trapped, if there were any rescues, you can imagine that had to take place here. Emergency crews certainly on the scene right now, but it is good to see people who look like they could be residents or perhaps maybe even rode out the storm in this area. You hope that there are some storm cellars where they were able to get underground.
Certainly, most of those people have probably left that area. You know, anytime, and Chief Meteorologist Damon Lane always says it, if you're in a mobile home park, you've got to get out of it. You've got to get to safety, because these storms blow through and they hit in an instant. You know, he is able to track it and tell you when it's headed your way, but boy, when it's upon you, it hits you so fast, there is nothing you can do. It
is one of the worst places that you can be in a mobile home whenever you have a significant tornado that's bearing down. You see all the people, they're gathering there. You see one woman with her dog, with her pet, as they're just looking around, perhaps telling their stories, looking around at where maybe they once lived. You can just assume that these people are residents there.
Yeah, and I see some officers and some sheriffs on the scene right there, just talking to folks, making sure that those folks belong in there, because so many people want to get out and just see the damage. We can give you the big view from Sky 5. You don't have to go anywhere. You can just see what a mess this storm has made.
And that is a good reminder, if you live in that area and you're curious for yourself because you want to just go out and see, it's better just to stay at home. You don't want to clog up the roadways and the highways, because emergency crews need to get in and out of there, and it just makes it more difficult for them. But you can see the number of emergency vehicles on the scene there, from the fire department to ambulance, as well, as they are working their way through this area. We haven't seen any type of a situation where it looks like emergency crews are rushing around, or any type of rescue situation.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I haven't seen any ambulances or anything like that in and out of that.
Right, and there is an ambulance that's parked just on if Sky 5 pulls out, you'll see the ambulance here in a moment. But as you said, you haven't seen one
rushing in or out or anything like that, and that's a good sign at least. But again, with this large of an area, unfortunately there probably is somebody that's been hurt in all of this. We just have to continue to track that down and figure that out, because that's something that investigators have a hard time saying when they get out to the scene of something immediately. They have to figure out exactly what they've got on their hands right here, and you can just see from this what's left of the mobile home park at Highway 102 in Independence, in the Shawnee areas where we're talking about, that there's just nothing left.
I'm trying to
so many of these
hop online just to see if we can get a better idea of what else is in that area. As Sky 5 pulls out, I mean, it's just debris that we can see in this area, but it looks like it may be somewhat rural. There's lots of trees around that area. It's hard to tell as Sky 5 makes its way across, but certainly the mobile home park has just been mutilated.
Yeah, and it does look like it was a pretty big park, and you can almost see where the path of this storm came through, it almost looks like it came through and took a left right there and headed its way up there, because there's almost a whole half of that mobile home park that's untouched. And and that's the most amazing things about these storms, is that they just move through, and there's no rhyme or reason where they go, and they just go through and they clean out everything that they can, especially when you get into a mobile home park.
Okay, I'm looking at the map here, and it looks like this is just east of the Shawnee Reservoir, not far from the Shawnee City Lake headquarters there. So just east of the Shawnee Reservoir there in Shawnee, again, Highway 102 and Independence.
And there, right there, there's some folks right there just trying to, it looks like that's almost a injured person in the back of that pickup truck they're treating right now. So it does look like somebody's laying down right there. So trying to get that situation under control. It
looks like they are on a stretcher.
Yeah, and that may be the only way that they can get up into this situation. It looks like a big four-wheel drive truck. The ambulance may not be able to get up into all of those areas right there. So clearly some injuries that they're having to deal with in this mobile home park that has been so heavily damaged. You know, we're also getting some video in right now that we want to show you from Sky 5. As Sky 5 was traveling along up to this area, they came from east of Lake Thunderbird and then into Lake Shawnee, and just look at the damage all the way. Our
photographer who's up there, John Norton, told us that there were hundreds of homes that he saw damaged between the east of Lake Thunderbird to the Shawnee Reservoir area, and you can see as Sky 5 is making its way along this path where this tornado carved its way through people's homes and people's lives. You can see all of the debris that is thrown about that area. But again, hundreds of homes our photojournalists reported seeing as they made their way across the area there.
Yeah, this has just really blown through and made a mess of everything. Another mess that is going on right now is over on the interstate. We've talked about this a little bit. These folks have lost their cars or their loads, and they haven't lost their homes in all of this. So in a way, this is not the most severe damage that we've seen, but boy, this is causing some big delays on our highway over there on I-40.
I-40 has been shut down both directions there at Highway 177, and you see that one semi, I mean, it looks like it is barely holding on to the interstate, and you can see another one that's just been thrown apart and debris scattered everywhere. As crews work to clean that up, the interstate will be shut down perhaps for some time.
And we're talking about both directions of the interstate. That's, if you're going eastbound, this is where this is on I-40. It's that first exit you get to right there in Shawnee.
And we have asked the troopers, OHP is covering this, and we've asked them, what about injuries? Can you imagine? You know, someone, if you're on an interstate, someone was in that vehicle or that semi, and they haven't been able to give us any information on any injuries. So we are asking those questions, and we're trying to get that information to you. For them, they're still trying to filter through all of it as well. But here we are, once again, Sky 5, back now live at Highway 102 in Independence, this mobile home park that was torn to pieces. And this isn't just a small mobile home park. I mean, you can tell this is a big lot, a big area where it looked like there were several mobile homes, and now it's really unrecognizable. We've seen maybe one or two mobile homes that are still standing barely, but pretty much just people's lives thrown all throughout that area of Shawnee. It is just east of the Shawnee Reservoir at Highway 102 in Independence.
Jessica, I've been on the ground at some of these mobile home parks when a big twister goes through, and what's so amazing is nothing even looks like a mobile home. You think you might see I don't know, the steel bars from them or just something, or the walls of them, and so many times there is absolutely just nothing left. It just looks like a bunch of pieces of stuff.
It looks like a bunch of pieces of sticks. Yeah. And that, you know, the material that was used to build those mobile homes, those manufactured homes, you see, looks like an emergency crew, a fireman who's walking through that area, just kind of taking a look around. Moments ago, we saw someone was on a stretcher in the back of a truck as fire crews or paramedics worked to help that person out.
And you know, our journalist that's in there is John Norton. taking all of these pictures for you. And one of the messages he's just relayed to us is that what they're seeing over and over is that these emergency crews can't get up into these areas because there's so much debris all over the roadways, and so it's just blocking the road. So that's why we're seeing people in the back of these pickup trucks on a stretcher, because that's the only way they can get to them.
The only way that they can get to them and help them out and try to make sure that they are doing okay. You see several emergency crews were able to get into that area, but I can imagine more are trying to make their way through with all of that debris. Okay, I believe that we're hearing our photojournalist John Norton right now, just tuning in with us. John, you have been making your way. You've seen all of this damage firsthand as you've been flying above there in Sky 5. If you can hear me, just kind of give me an update on what you have been seeing as these emergency crews have been making their way around. You probably have a better idea as you can see it for yourself.
Well, actually, we're tracking this tornado path from Lake Thunderbird straight east into Shawnee. We saw, like you said, as we reported, I said that we'd seen hundreds, literally hundreds of homes destroyed all the way into almost into Shawnee. And here locally, they're still looking. They're going to be searching probably overnight, looking for any fatalities. As a lot of debris stacked high. Even I think you saw earlier, there was a large van. There was a large van parked on top of a mobile home.
Hey, John, can you estimate at all how many miles you guys follow this path of destruction?
My guess would probably, just a guesstimate, probably at least 20 miles worth.
Wow, 20 miles of damage and just hundreds and hundreds of houses. And I'm guessing this is probably some of the worst that you've seen in all of this.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I'm sorry, did you? I said I'm guessing this may be some of the very worst that you've seen.
Yeah, I think it's probably the worst because mobile home parks tend to be close together. They tend to be close together, and at this part, if you have more of a traditional home, you usually build on acreage of 1 or 2 or even more acres. And mobile home parks, the homes are quite close together.
It looks like it's a pretty big lot. It's hard to tell with debris because debris can be thrown for, miles. But John, give us an update on the emergency crews that you've seen. Have they been having a difficult time getting into this mobile home park? We see some of them. We see some of the flashing lights there. But what have you seen as far as debris in the roadway? Have they had some trouble getting into these areas to help people out?
Yeah, they're mainly on foot because one of the problems they're having is, well, this is the remnants of a mobile home, and it's blocking the intersection, so they can't get around with their large rescue equipment and all that. And so, if you see, if I can find one quickly, looking real quickly, but they're basically on foot, digging through the debris by hand, looking for any victims.
Oh, wow! I got to tell you, that it's just got to be a very long and slow process because you want to make sure you don't hurt anybody just by stepping over someone in debris like that. Not only are our first responders on the ground, but some of the other first responders are always the Red Cross that hits these situations. And we want to join, Ken Garcia joins us right now. And Ken, where are you guys and what's your night ahead like?
Well, I got to tell you, first, our hearts go out to those who have been impacted by these tornadoes. I've been watching your footage this afternoon, and I'm looking at the debris right now, and obviously there's going to be a lot of work ahead, and our volunteers are definitely up to the task. We are right now mobilizing our volunteers to prepare to get out into the